Welcome to the finale of the 160th playthrough of Antietam using the Glory 3 system. I've decided to close out this video set with one last video here. Played through a lot of the turns remaining from turn 12 forward and kind of went back and forth with both sides here and wound up being what you see in front of you now, where the Union pushed as far as they could to get forward and really did not make much more progress before the Confederates were able to regroup and and counterattack and go back and forth with the Union to slow them down and to retake some of the ground that was taken in the battle. And looking at the map here, you can see the Union did make a little bit farther advance into Sharpsburg than what happened historically. We were able to push up Boonestown Road here, and you can see Hancock was able to get into the town itself, and Burnside was able to move up here on the side here as well and push very, very close to the town before the Confederates could hold off and try to push back. And you can see to the north here with Lawton, he was able to come down and push back here, and Jackson was able to muster other troops to get moving across there as well. So we can see it as I zoom in here. You can see some of the detail of what happened during this. You can see that Anderson's division was pretty much knocked out by Smith here, and had to be supported by D.R. Jones over here to the right, and as well as Lawton and D.H. Hill counterattacking up here as well. Hancock did make it into the town here, was able to get a little bit farther, but you can see some of the counterattacks from Jones's units were able to slow him down. Lawton over here to the north was able to push down, counterattack, and push back some of Franklin's corps as they tried to advance up. D.H. Hill was able to hold out on the sunken road, as well as Burnside was able to make attacks up across there, but eventually were stopped there just short by Confederate artillery and troops holding out in the town itself. Now, looking at the details of the battle here, you can see that this was, was a tough fight, and the Confederates did have to really use interior lines to control the battle and shift units down from north to south to protect the units there. As we look to the south, where Burnside had crossed, we have both Burnside and Porter. As I adjust this here, have Burnside and Porter moving across and attacking Walker and McLaws to the south. And they made some very good progress up across here, pushing up over the ridge and actually gaining the Harper's Ferry Road before A.P. Hill came in and counterattacked. But Hill had a tough time here, as you can see, to the south with Porter's units. Hill was pushed back initially. He was a little bit farther forward than where he was. And he got pushed back, but eventually held the victory apex there. And you can see some of Stuart's cavalry came down to help hold the flank here as well. So even though Porter got over there and Burnside was able to push up towards the town, they weren't able to quite capture the ridge and get over there to get rid of McLaws and Walker so they could gain the town, as well as Porter's corps being able to push across. But this does illustrate how, if a second corps had crossed with Burnside, how different the battle could look. Now Lee still has routes of retreat. He still has the Shepherdstown Road over here, and even though the Harper's Ferry Road is blocked by Union forces, he does have other lines of retreats out to the west, crossing the Potomac over there. McLaws, you can see, is holding a key position over here on the hinge of the southern side of Sharpsburg. But they do have a lot of artillery right in front, which in this game the artillery is very key to the battle because it is rather destructive if it's in the stack when a unit is charging it. It does have a couple of modifiers that really damage it. Now, as we look to the north, what had happened towards the end of the game here was the fact that in the north, not much happened. In the beginning, as you know, we had Sumner and we had Hooker and Mansfield really pushing hard north to south, coming down from the Hagerstown Pike. But that stalled under the defense of Jackson's units there to the north, and was able to hold Dunker Church and actually push back the Union advance. With McClellan being so timid in terms of his ordering units and getting them moving, we saw very slow movement up there and a good defense before he actually started moving to the south, as we saw with Burnside. So consequently, when the southern attack materialized, all of the emphasis and push came down there, and the 3 corps to the north really were stopped or just not engaged because there was so much success with the other units to the south. McClellan refused to write any more orders. The 3 corps to the north stayed where they were as just kind of a holding action. And in the meantime, Lee and Jackson were able to shift units down to meet the attack of Franklin's corps, as well as Burnside to the south, and able to stabilize the defense. And that was due to the interior lines that they had, within this area right here. And Stuart, from a cavalry perspective, could really play the flanks and kind of hassle the Union troops and keep them off balance and keep them, not focused in terms of being able to get a good attack going with the units. Now, in this game, of course, as I said, the artillery was key. Infantry is good in terms of units for the Confederates, but they have low quantity. The quality is very good, but the quantity is low. Union, on the other side, has good quantity, but lower quality. So that makes a difference as well. Again, hard charging up against the Confederates that are on a well-defended ridge line stretching north to south and defending a town over there. The one thing that the Union had, which helped out quite a bit, was artillery. Once they were able to get online, as shown here, they were able to punch through the center and give some damage to the Confederate troops there. Consequently, the Union was able to then follow up with Franklin's 6th Corps and push into the town. Now, the one set of units that didn't get activated at all was the cavalry up here. It was a shame that they couldn't get going, but McClellan just wouldn't order them at all. They could have helped up here to tackle Stuart and help Hooker a little bit, or to the south to help punch through and capture some of the fords that the Confederates were defending over there as well. But that is one of the limitations because of McClellan's plan here. So that's why we see the cavalry units still way behind from where they were and essentially stalled there as well. So moving forward with this, I thought this was a very good battle with what was fought, and a very good representation of the Battle of Sharpsburg. The system itself, as I have discussed, has is very basic and very simple, very bloody in terms of losses and what happens during the attacks and the defenses and such within there. The units, the artillery is very, very strong in defense. It's not very strong in attacks. You have to concentrate them, like we saw with the Union artillery back there, to make any headway in an attack. But in defense, they are very, very strong. The units themselves, like I said, quality versus quantity. Quantity for the Union, quality for the Confederates makes a difference. And then, of course, tactics itself. The biggest thing is, units in the attack want to try to gain the flank and try to flank units because that'll give more bonus to the attack when you're attacking across there. So moving forward here, you can see the Union was able to control a couple of hexes, those two hexes that I just pointed to right there. Those two hexes were the ones that were controlled. They also controlled the town. They got 3 points. Unfortunately, that's not enough to win the game. The Confederates don't need any points. They just need to defend and keep the Union from getting points, which they were successful at doing. And that's about, I feel, a fair representation of the game and a fair representation of the battle. Lee was on the defense. He was just trying to keep his army together, defend as much as possible, and then kind of go from there. So now let's take a look at the casualties. The casualties on here, you can see, were fairly even across here. You see Anderson's, from the Confederate side, you see Anderson's units really took the brunt of the damage. We got 3 units plus an artillery that was damaged, roughly about a brigade and a half plus artillery that was destroyed. So he took the worst of it. You can see D.H. Hill took a hit along with artillery losses in there as well. And, rounding that out, you have Hood and McLaws also taking roughly half a brigade loss in there as well. And then artillery reserve for the Confederates really took a hit. Between Jackson and Longstreet's, they lost a significant amount of artillery. The Union, on the other hand, you can see the Second Corps in yellow really took the hit. They took basically 2 brigades were lost, plus 2 areas of artillery. Hooker lost 1 brigade worth of units, essentially on there, but the Second Corps really was the one that took the biggest hit of them all, as well as the one unit from Burnside. So roughly pretty even in terms of that. There's a number of disordered still on the board, and there's a number of units that were recovered that remained at a disordered state throughout the rest of the game as it progressed. So roughly even in terms of casualties and losses during the battles. I can't say that was actually historically accurate in terms of the losses, because it was quite a heavy loss day, quite a heavy bit of fighting going across there. I don't think we had as many heavy losses as they originally saw, but still on a good scale of units lost here. So coming back and looking at the overall map here, you can see the game itself, I think, as I said, is a good representation of the battle. You do have quite a bit of maneuvering that you want to do. There's quite a bit of units to attack. It's very tough to attack, as I mentioned before. It's very hard to actually knock out units and keep them off. Very difficult to get traction and get things moving. Typically, once one attacks, there'll be a counterattack to it, which usually brings them back to the beginning. So it's a kind of a back and forth, which at the brigade level, in terms of what we're dealing with here, is feeling about right for what we're going with. So again, very good representation of the game, and very good gives you a very good understanding of the battle itself without getting into larger or more detailed levels. Although there are games out there which are very good, Gleam of Bayonets comes to mind. This one kind of fits to the level and the time frame. Now, it did take a long time. There's 18 turns to this game, which is a long game with this. Plus, you're dealing with a number of cores. We see roughly 12 activations per turn that you have to play through, and then figure out all the units to move, fire, charge, and recover. So it does take a while. This has taken me about 24 hours to play through all of it, including the stuff that you didn't see off camera on here as well. So it definitely is a longer game. It's not anyone that's a simpler game with it. It's a longer one. The rules are fairly simple, but the time of playing it usually consumes most of your effort. With it here as well. So this has been a very good effort. Pleased with that. In terms of what we're looking at here, we'll be wrapping this up for the 160th anniversary, and we'll be moving onward to some other 160th anniversaries here a bit later as well. But I wanted to kind of give you a good understanding or a good feeling for what the Antietam campaign was for this, and give you a good feel of the this 160th playthrough of the series. So I thank you so much for watching. Hope you enjoyed this quite a bit, and we'll see you on the next one. Thanks a lot. Bye-bye.